All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome and happy Sunday to you. My name is Brittany Lewis. I'm an artist, illustrator, tarot deck enthusiast. And Sundays are the day that I focus on my dream project, the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. But this Sunday, we have two very special guests joining me today. We're going to discuss all kinds of tips and tricks for creating artwork, whether that's digital or traditional. And so I happily welcome Leigh and Sam. Thank you so much for joining me, Leigh and Sam. All right. So, really quickly, you guys, please introduce yourselves. Let us know who you are, where you're from, what you're working on, and we're gonna jump right into it.
Yeah, I'll go. Hi, everyone. My name is Leigh. I use she, they pronouns. But I am a very new creative or artist. Been doing tarot for a couple years now, since about fall of 2021.
Mm.
But have really enjoyed just making it more personal to me and really using it as a tool that just helps me live my life the way that I want to use it. And trying to get more creative and maybe even thinking about designing my own decks and
Mm.
resources and guides for being able to understand and practice tarot. So, really excited to be able to talk with both of you today.
I love that. We waiting on you, Sam.
I don't Hi, I'm Sam. I'm Sam from Sam's Sacred Soundscape. Also, a part of Crossroad Pals. We basically were a collective, me and we, and a couple of other people that formed from. Um, I want to make sure I'm getting this right. What is JT Perry,
Mm.
her school, and about spiritualists. And basically, that's my background. I am into spirituality. I am also a doctoral student in clinical psychology.
Mm.
And creativity is something that I've been doing since I was younger. I've always used to doodle and stuff. One
Mhm.
of the best ways for me to understand while I'm learning is to doodle. And I got right back into being more creative last year and noticing that I use my creativity with my spirituality. So I like draw on candle pillars, which I can talk about a little bit more. And I'm often doing like hand drawings. So I'm trying to get into the digital space, which is why,
Okay.
you know, connected with you and trying to learn a little bit more, some tips and tricks.
I love that. First of all, I didn't know, I knew a little bit about the spiritual aspect, but that just like warms my heart up because I love the fact that there are more Black women kind of stepping into this spiritual art space so that we can have more stories and more authentic perspectives that we can share. So I love that, Lee. And you talking about making a deck? Let's go. Like, please, I love that so much. Okay, so yeah, so we can jump right into it. Into the artwork, JT Perry. Okay, so let's show this real quick. So the people that you mentioned were JT Perry,
Yes. The
founder of Celeste. Is it Celestial? Excuse me, y'all have to forgive me.
Cecilia Westland
Cecilia
Spiritual
Western Spiritual Academy. I love that. I love that. And welcome, you guys. Thank you so much. I don't know if I did this, but if you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, we really appreciate you all for being here with us. I think it's going to be a really magical talk because, like I said, having that like spirit, that's right in my wheelhouse. Like I love the alignment of that. So yeah, so let's get into it. So I know, Sam, that you were working on a book. And I know that we talked a little bit about making things consistent. And so tell me a little bit about that particular project. And then I have set up here my screen so that I can demonstrate some things so that if you are watching this and are interested in learning digital artwork or anything like that, I'll be able to kind of show you in real time how that works. We'll talk a little bit too about tools that you can use if you're getting into the creative space. especially if you are creating like the decks that Leigh mentioned, or this book that Sam is working on. Some of the tools that you guys can get so that you can work on your projects that are inexpensive to get into. They're very accessible. And then, you have me, I'm here to help you kind of walk through some of that. But also, there's lots of resources and things on YouTube and Google and places like that. So we'll get off into it. So, yeah, Sam, please tell us about the book that you're working on.
Okay, so the book is I am co-authoring with
Mm,
Chris, which is one of our friends, also in the Crossword Pals,
okay.
and it's a book where we're aiming to have, I'm pretty sure, children ages 7 to 11, probably,
Okay.
um, and it's a book about grief,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And the way that I draw is, a lot of the times I don't draw with eyes or nose or mouths. I just
Okay.
do like a black
Okay.
face. So very much like a stick figure type of thing. And then
Okay.
makes the, I guess what makes the art more flourished is like what the person's wearing, the
Mm-hmm.
clothes, and stuff of that nature. And so the book is on grief, and I'm right now I am trying to think of the characters. So
Okay.
I've made the main character, I think the mom and the dad as well.
Okay.
Um, and my biggest fear, or like a thing that I like would like to have more understanding about, is
Mhm.
continuously drawing them,
Okay.
because they have to be on the cover page, then they have to be
Right.
on the different like sheets that are necessary, and have them doing actions that I haven't gotten as much um, experience in.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. So I'm
And
gonna
like I
share my.
said, I'm drawing
Mhm.
by hand. Oh, and like
Mhm.
I said, I'm drawing by hand, so a lot of the times I feel as though it's not going to be consistent. But I feel like if I
Okay.
get into the digital space, it's like I can make a replica every time, or maybe not. I don't know. You can tell
Right.
me.
Sure. Yeah, I think either way is fine. So my rule of thumb is with like a big project, unless you have like a lot of time to work on it, make things as simple as you can on yourself. So I know we talked a little about which you were more comfortable with, whether that was the traditional art
Mhm.
or the digital art. I would recommend, keeping with what you're comfortable with, but I know that we mentioned learning a little bit about digital art. Either way, it's going to be the same process, right? So yes, you'll have the added bonus of duplicating certain things, but I think the main thing is going to be having an understanding of how it works, right? So I'm going to show you real quick. Let's see if let's see if it'll work for us. Okay,
Uh-huh.
there we go. Okay, so here's our screen. So when you're drawing your characters, there are a couple of things you want to keep in mind, right? You want to keep in mind your like the personalities of your characters. You also want to break those down into shapes, right? So if I'm drawing, let's see, let's get a pencil ready. If I am drawing a character, right, and let's say she has a round face, and I'm going to keep this very basic, like stick figure type, characters. If I'm drawing a face, right, and I know that he has a bulbous body, you know, like that, I want to break these characters down into shapes so that no matter how I aim them, they're going to maintain the same shape. What's going to be interesting and what's going to make the biggest difference is going to be the personality that you add. So even if you're not adding your facial features and things like that, like you said, the colors of the wardrobe, that'll help with consistency. But also, if for instance, let's say you have a character who's really shy, right? So if they're really shy, their shoulders may sit up a little bit higher because they're, a little more how should I say it? I don't even want to use the word demure because I'm so tired of hearing that this week. I'm so tired of hearing it. But for the sake of this conversation, someone who's a little bit more delicate, a little bit more reserved is the word that I'm looking for. So you may place them where their shoulders sit up a little bit higher, right? Or if you have sort of like a macho guy, the jawline is going to be square. So you want to keep in mind your shapes. So if this is the shape of his jawline, let's say he put out his eyes here, or where the implication of his eyes, his nose, his mouth, and things like that. But his jawline is one of his prominent features, and his shoulders may be a little bit broader. So those are some things to kind of keep in mind as you go into developing your characters and things like that. So if we're taking this character and we're gonna just use a simple, box guy, nothing fancy or anything like that. And so let's say we're drawing his face in, and he has that kind of nose, and his personality is that he's kind of cool, right? If we want to take this and change our perspective of it, we would take these same features, right? So in our case, he has this, um, this square jaw, right? His nose is a certain shape, so his nose is very round. And then his expression is that, what I would suggest doing is making a couple of copies, right? So his jaw is going to stay the same because he has a jawline, a square jaw, right? So we're going to transfer his jaw over. We're going to transfer the roundness of his nose because we've broken that down into, basic shapes. And then from there, same expression. And then whatever his hair shape is, let's say he has, Doug Funny hair. So then we would transfer that over. And so that's pretty much how you would do it. And so I know that you showed me a picture of the character that you're using, which I think is an awesome way to practice this, right? So if your character is, very, like I said, again, very basic, she has a certain hair shape, then we would just transfer that over. If she was looking straight ahead, we would draw her eyes or the implication of her eyes here. But we could also take that same shape, and I'm just going to, and this is where the magic of digital work kind of comes into play, because now I can kind of take this, I can copy it and paste it over and then make a duplicate of it, right? And then from there, using this same shape, I can change the perspective of how she's looking. So maybe we have more of a side view, right? So it's all about breaking your characters down into the most basic shapes that you have available. And then once you do that, then you can go and practice and make different variations of her. So we duplicate this again, where maybe she's looking up, right? Same character, same shape, same, the whole thing. And we're using all of the same information. Maybe she's looking up, right? And then maybe her chin is here. Right? So we didn't change anything except the facial expressions. So you want to keep things as simple and as easy as you can. Now, if you're working traditionally, I would recommend using tracing paper. So once you have your basic sort of expression done, then you would take that tracing paper and trace out your main outlines, move it over to the next piece of paper, and then go through the whole process of duplicating again. Another very valuable thing that you have in terms of expression, in terms of poses, is yourself, right? So you can actually sit in the mirror, and I do this all the time. As a matter of fact, as soon as this live stream is over, I got to go pose for the what am I working on? 2 of Wands. I want to pose for that, right? But you have the power to actually record yourself, set up your phone, make different expressions. Maybe you're frowning and notice how your eyebrows go down. See what happens with your body. So if you're not using facial features in your characters, you can still sort of structure them in a way that I'm balled up because I'm not happy about something, or I'm sad because, and so play with it and be as dramatic as possible, because that's going to help build your references for your characters to come. But so if we're going to retract, make sure that for all of your characters, you have sort of a main personality, right? So if your child is usually playful, maybe kind of research what do playful kids look like, right? If your mom is usually very, stern and very or very nurturing. Most mothers are very nurturing. So very nurturing. Maybe she has a certain stance about her. Act those parts out, right? Take pictures of how those expressions and how the body language and things like that work for you. And then you can use that to translate into your shapes. So in terms of digital work, again, this is like you said, it's a little bit easier because you do get a chance to kind of hit a couple buttons to copy and paste, but the same process is going to work with your traditional work, your traditional medium. So you're going to draw these characters a whole bunch of times. You're going to draw them in so many different ways. You're going to draw all the expressions that you could possibly want. And then two, to work on angles. Here's a trick that I would recommend working on angles. I know you guys know how to draw a box, right? This is your regular old 3D box, right? Think in terms of boxes. Break everything down into boxes, right? Because if I angle my box a certain way, maybe I get more of the underside of her face, right? So if I'm drawing their faces, again, if she's looking up, then this is her face and this becomes her neck, right? Her hair. So think in terms of boxes. Make it very, very simple for yourself. If she's looking down, maybe we see more of the top side of the box than we do of the bottom, right? This is going to help you learn to angle your faces. It makes it a lot easier for you if you do it that way. So I give you a great example. A couple of I think on the last live stream I talked a little bit about not being very good with drawing landscapes, right? And one of the troubles that I have is that I just, for whatever reason, I think I overthink things. But when I sat down to do this, and this is the first time I'm showing the sketch, so you guys get to see it first. I finished up the Two of Swords sketch for the Cosmic Gateways Tarot, but I went into drawing the landscape. Now, I could do the background as long as it was straightforward, it was fine. But when I got into working out this area here, I started with a box, right? I started with a box and I was like, okay, I want this to be a little bit elevated. So I know a tree's root is going to go over the box, sort of like this. So if you break things down, it becomes a whole lot easier to create just about anything. The other thing, again, is your references. So, you're going to take pictures of yourself posing as the different characters or as the different expressions, especially because, like you say, you're not going to be using the facial features. Pay a lot of attention to your body language, okay? Because you're going to be able to read a lot of emotion through your body language. The other sort of resource would be to, of course, look online for different things like that. So those are my biggest tips for consistency. And I think what we talked a little bit about was creating a style.
Body is where I have the hardest. Body is the hardest for me.
Okay.
For sure, because I think at least the head is not so difficult because, like I said, it's just a plain old head. I think I love the angles. This tip is very helpful because I can try to do stuff with hair for sure. But like body language is so like getting the shoulders and the arms and the legs proportionally right.
Okay,
It's a tough piece. They end up looking great. At least that's what people say. They like how it looks. But I know when I'm doing the process, it's pretty hard. And your landscape looks so nice, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Really
I was like, listen, I was
beautiful.
drawing that thing. I was like, I don't know. I might have spoke to. I'm just kidding, but I appreciate that.
It looks great. It looks great.
Yeah. So with bodies, it's the exact same process. Think about your shapes, right? So if you are, let's say, for instance, you have a character, and I don't know, do you have one available for us to see or not quite yet? If you don't, no worries. If you do, then we'll let you kind of share that on the screen. But one thing that I would suggest is draw your character straight on, or however, it's easiest for you, draw your character from head to toe, right? And from there, break it down into shapes. So let's see if I can pull it up. We'll go back to this one that we were just working on, the Two of Swords, right? So if I was drawing this guy, and not make sure I ain't drawing on that. I don't want to not draw him. But if I was to break him down, I have his head, which is the round head. His shoulders are very square, right? I'm breaking this down into very basic shapes. And then his legs are like two cylinders. Again, we can go back to the box because everybody knows how to draw that 3D box, right? So you break it down into these shapes. Now, he has a very slender build. So if I were to go in to turn him around, I would think in terms of that really it's just that easy. Think in terms of that 3-dimensional box, right? So I need to see the side of him. So right now I can only see sort of the back, so it looks very 2-dimensional. But if I wanted to see the side of him, all I would do is sort of he's slender, right? So and I kind of want to keep him pretty straightforward. I want to see part of, and this will be his waist and then his legs and things like that. Actually, because we're looking sideways, keeping in line with our box, we'll see this part of his legs, and then we'll see the other one kind of come out this way. So what I would do is his arm would go here, right? And let's say I just want his arm to go out. I'm thinking in terms of just breaking this down as easily and as simply as I can, right? But once you begin to, I guess, once you go through the process of drawing your initial character, figure out how are she shaped, right? Is the person, does the person have like broader shoulders and maybe a more slimmer waist? You still can turn this into a three-dimensional box. You know what I mean? You still can turn it into a three-dimensional box. So if I was to translate this over to her, I would make the shoulders maybe a little bit wider. I would bring in the waist a little bit, right? And then I would, angle it that way. And then you begin to add your details, right? So again, once you get into your poses, once kind of act this out in the mirror in the phone, or you can go to Pexels, which is a great resource. And I'll put that in the chat here. That's pexels.com. If there is a certain feeling that you want. For instance, when my initial concept for this one was I wanted a guy who was standing with an axe, right? So I went through my resources to find a guy who was standing with the axe. Once I found that resource, I didn't want to draw the exact same guy, even though it evolved into something else. I didn't want to draw that exact same guy, but I paid attention to how his body was angled. So if I have someone who's, sad and they're, sitting like this, you want to pay attention to how their bodies are angled, right? What is their hand doing? How are their eyes tilted down? They're in terms of if they're standing up or if they're sitting down, does their back curve, because they're sad? Are they curved over? And so you want to kind of pay attention to those sorts of things. But again, it's the exact same thing with the face. You want to think in terms of shapes, right? Break it down into the most basic shapes, and then that'll be easier to duplicate once you move on to, fleshing out your characters. But did you have anything? Okay, let's see. I don't know. Let's see. I think you can go down to the bottom and hit presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing here, and then let's see if we can see.
Let's see if it will work. Hold on.
Okay.
For right now, I'm just going to share my entire screen. Let's see if it'll let me.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it showing you guys anything?
Let's see. I'm going to look over.
I guess I just don't see the option to actually.
Okay.
Like once I. I don't know why it's not actually, like when I look to actually put it on, there's no screen to press submit.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Do you have anything that says, I think something about a presentation?
No, I have Chrome tab, window, and entire screen.
Look in the backstage, like where you can see us.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you see anything that says like share presentation or share screen?
No, hold on, let's see. No idea why it's not showing me the option. Okay. Okay, well, it's not working for some reason.
Okay. Well, no worries. No worries. Yeah, we gonna roll with it. That's okay. It's no pressure. Uh-oh.
Oh no. Did we lose her?
Yeah, we lost her.
Oh,
there she is. Okay. All right, let's get you.
I did too much. The computer said I did too much.
Oh no. Okay.
So obviously it's a wrap.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about jumping into digital art, right? So when it goes to digital art, there are so many options that you can do. The first thing that I would take into consideration is what is it that you want to create on. So right now, I do my best on the desktop. So I have my desktop here, and I have a screen display. Use a Huion screen display, and I'll show you guys what that looks like here. Um, and pretty much I'm able to like draw on the screen. When I first started, I just used a little bamboo. It was like a it was like a little just a little tablet that you draw on. Let me see. Let's see if I can pull up a Huion so you guys can see what that looks like. It looks sort of like this. Let's see. Drop you in. So this is similar, not quite the same, but this is kind of similar to what this is more like this one. So this is what I'm drawing on, right? So that is a pen display. You also have something like a bamboo, right? If you want to draw on like a desktop, you have very small. I don't even know if they still make them, but we're gonna find out. And this is it's very similar, but you draw looking at your screen as opposed to looking down. So you have these sort of this pen tablets that you have that you can work on, but you can also work on an iPad. A lot of people tend to opt for the iPad because it is portable and things like that. It's really a matter of preference, but you have to kind of make that decision because depending on how you decide to what machine you decide to work on, that'll limit sort of the programs that you'll have access to. For instance, one of the super popular programs that a lot of people use on iPad is the Procreate, right? But Procreate is only available, to my knowledge, to an iPad. So even if you were to use a similar tablet like a Samsung or something like that, you may not have access to Procreate, right? For instance, on this desktop, I can't pull up Procreate. I have it on my iPad. I don't really use it as much, but I do have it if I like want to, move around. So that's something to take into consideration. You have a little more flexibility again on your desktop. So if you wanted to get like a little small Intuos Pro or something like that, or if you wanted to get a pen display, again, the sort of drawback is that it's not portable. Now I can move mine up and down and back and forth because I have it connected to my desk, but I can only work on it here on my desk, right? So when I was like designing the graphics for our live stream, I was working on my iPad because I was out and about. That kind of gave me a little bit of flexibility to do that. With the pen displays, you don't get that flexibility. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. So you have your tablets, that's your iPad, your Samsung Note tabs and things like that. And then you have your drawing tablets, which are the screenless ones. And you just kind of draw on it and you look at the screen that you have connected to your laptop or your desktop or whatever stationary machine that you're using. And then you have your pen displays, which are the least flexible because they're pretty much standstill, but they do act as a second monitor. You have those two options. Now, if you decide that you want to work on your laptop, meaning you want to do your digital work on like your desktop or your laptop or whatever you want to do, you have quite a few programming options. My program of choice is Clip Studio Paint for digital illustration. And for any of my graphic design needs, so like when I'm doing my card layouts, like after I do the finished final illustration, once I get into like the actual graphic design part of it, the numbers and the type and all of that, I use the Affinity suite. Now Affinity is great because that's an Adobe adjacent, right? So Adobe is like most people's industry standards just because they've been around the longest. So you would have your Adobe Illustrator, you would have your Adobe Photoshop, your InDesign, and so on and so forth. All of that is graphic design software. I use Affinity, which is very similar. They only have 3 programs though in the Affinity suite. They have Affinity Designer, excuse me, Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, and Affinity Publisher. So those would take the place of your Illustrator and Adobe Illustrator, your Adobe Photoshop, and then your Adobe InDesign. I like Affinity because it's a perpetual license, which means that once I pay for it, I don't have to pay another bill next month to use this program, right? I think when I got them, they were like $34.99 or something like that per program. They regularly run deals, and I appreciate this company because they always act with the creator in mind, right? Whereas Adobe is used to being top dog, they can do pretty much what they want to do because people are going to buy the program. Affinity takes a slightly different stance where they during the pandemic they had offers for super discounted programming. Right now, if I'm not mistaken, they have like a 6-month trial, so that when people are wanting to switch from Adobe to Affinity and maybe want to try it out and see which they like best, they're offering 6 months right now. And then once you buy it, it's not expensive. You know
Are
what I
you
mean?
sponsored? Are you
No, I'm
sponsored?
not sponsored.
You
I'm
got-
not. I will listen. If Affinity Seraph, dear friends, if you're watching this, I love your programming. I would love for you to sponsor. Listen, you can buy me a coffee. we're we're publishing a tarot deck right now. So if you would like to sponsor this live stream, please do. I appreciate that so much. But just from like an actual like, nope, I'm not being sponsored. They don't pay me anything. Like, to me, they're my, this is my go-to graphic design suite, right? The other thing is that with Affinity, you get a license. So if you have an iPad and if you have a desktop, they have a universal license that you can purchase where you can use the programs on both. So last year, I think I did some interviews in Nashville at the How Design Live for the Graphic Artists Guild, and I was able to sort of do some of the graphics and things while I was there, and then I could come back and edit. Of course, I was at that time, I think I was using Adobe because the guild had it, and I just kind of had to, do that. But that's something to take into consideration. So with Adobe, you have a monthly fee, and then with Affinity, you don't. so that's something I appreciate. The other thing with Clip Studio Paint, which is the program that you guys saw where I do the all of my illustration work, that's also a perpetual license. So when I first started my digital painting journey, I started in Photoshop. So I would draw exclusively in Photoshop. At the time I had so this is Clip Studio Paint. At the time I had they didn't have the subscription. So it was like you buy like this, at the time I was in school. So you bought the student license and then you could have it or whatever. So I would draw exclusively in Photoshop. So all of my digital work and all of that would be in Photoshop. And then I made the switch once they went over to the subscriptions model because I didn't want to have to pay a monthly bill or have to keep up with it. As an entrepreneur, we have ebbs and flows, right? So one month I might not have the extra however much it costs per month to pay for Adobe. I don't want it to stop my productivity or be able to create things like that. So I'm Team Clip Studio Paint, also a perpetual license. So you don't have to now they have the Clip Studio Paint has done a couple of new things, right? You can buy the perpetual license, which is what I prefer to do. Or you can buy, like, say you want to buy version 2, and then you can pay for like an upgrade pass or something like that, where they'll upgrade it every so often. And then if you don't decide you don't want it, then you still have like the base programming. So the program that I work in and the version that I work in is version 1. They've since upgraded to version 3. I would suggest getting version 3 because it's it's the newest thing they got, especially if you're drawing your characters. And here's why. So Clip Studio Paint does a beautiful job at creating 3D models. Okay. So when it comes time for you to start to, even if you don't want to do it in the mirror and things like that, you can actually add a 3D model to and I'm going to share, I don't know why I stopped sharing it, but I'm going to share my screen again so you guys can see how this works. You can actually use their 3D model system. And this is the old version. So this has been upgraded since then, since I have, purchased Clip Studio Paint, but you can actually go into their library. You can download models, and then you can change how those models pose, right? So I think I have quite a few of them here. Let's see. Let's just go to download, right? So let's say, for instance, I want to draw someone meditating, and I don't quite know how that looks, or I can't find the reference that I'm looking for. They actually have poses of people meditating, right? And you can change the gender of the people, you can change their weight and things like that, and you can actually go in and turn them around. This is going to help you with, you can bend their bodies, you can turn them around, you can move their arms and legs and things like this. And that becomes sort of a blueprint for drawing your characters. So if you're having trouble with poses and things like that, that's something that you can play with, right? That's available within Clip Studio Paint. So I ride with Clip Studio, I ride with Affinity because it's very practical. Another
That's
great thing about
cool.
Clip Studio is it's also available on iPad, right? So you have that option to use it both on iPad and on your laptop or your desktop or however you wish to create. So that's just something to sort of keep in mind. I think a license for it, I don't know, I think I paid maybe $60. They regularly run sales and things like that. They just had one not long ago where I think it was like 60% off the license. So that's just something to kind of keep an eye on later on down the line. But so I say all this to say you have lots and lots of options, right? Those are just the ones that I use. You also have your Corel Painter. You have Krita, which I believe is free that you can download for your desktop just to kind of try it out. But whatever you do, there's plenty of resource and things like that to use and teach you how to do it. Now with Clip Studio Paint, I don't know all of the functions. I ain't gonna sit and hold you. You know what I mean? I know how to do what I know how to do, but you can do animations in it. You know what I mean? You can do comic books in it. Like I said, like you guys have seen, I've been working on my Cosmic Gateways Tarot in this particular program. And so with any of them, you have unlimited possibilities. It's just a matter of what it is that you want to do. So I like Clip Studio. It's one of those programs I learned about from other illustrators that I admired, and I was like, I like how that looks, and I'm tired of Photoshop. What are we talking about? And so that's kind of how I got on it. And I've been using Clip Studio now for I believe about 4 years or so consistently. And so that's what I recommend. Now, when you go into your iPad, which is also another option, a lot of the programs that we mentioned for desktop are also available on your iPad, right? So that's the Affinity Suite is available on your iPad. Clip Studio Paint is available on your iPad. But the most popular and the one that you will see a lot of people use on iPad is going to be Procreate. Procreate is also a perpetual license, right? And I don't remember how much I paid for it, but it wasn't a lot. It's not a huge investment. You will need like the Apple Pencil if you're wanting to use an iPad because that'll allow you to draw things like that.
But it
And
does work on tablets, right?
yeah, this is so. I'll show you guys what it looks like. So this is my iPad. Now I'm not a Procreate, probably not the best person to give you like tutorial because I don't really use it. I use it specifically for sketching, and that's just about it. But this is sort of what Procreate looks like. So this is going to be your. Here, let me turn this off real quick so you guys can see it a little bit better. This is what the inside of Procreate looks like. So you very much a blank canvas. And I believe that it's been updated. I have an older iPad, right? So my iPad is pretty old. So this is what my version of Procreate looks like. So you have your gallery. So all of the projects that I've done in Procreate in the past there, you have all of your settings across the top. So it's very, very I wouldn't say user friendly because I've had a hard time learning it. This is just me being honest. But it's very streamlined. I'll say that. So I know a lot of people love it. I've seen some beautiful artwork come out of Procreate. I think because I'm used to drawing on the programs that I'm used to, I just hadn't had the interest to learn it. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
No, that
So
makes sense.
I use it only for sketching and I use it for line art. So I was work off and on a coloring book that I would like to put out because I wasn't seeing any black witches. In 2017, I started a witches series where I was drawing just sketches of black witches and it sort of evolved. And I was like, this will make a great coloring book. So every now and again, I'll go and like do some line art in it. But I've seen people do like some beautiful, like top notch artwork. And again, with your iPad, it's portable. So that means that if I'm sitting at the car dealership getting my oil changed and I know I'm going to be there for an hour, I can sit and draw and work on artwork because I have it with me in my backpack or whatever you're carrying. So those are just, I know that's a lot. I know we've gone through a lot today, but those are just some of the options that you guys have available to you. And so whatever one you're going to, pick up, you're just going to be a learning, you're just going to have to learn it. It's kind of
Right.
how that goes. So for me, Clip Studio is the easiest transition from Photoshop because again, that was what I was used to drawing in. And Clip Studio was like closest in terms of the layout and things like that, some of the buttons and features. And so it was a very easy transition for me. And for me, because of that, Procreate has been very difficult. So, like, I don't want to hit the screen. Like, I just want to, I just want to hit the buttons I'm used to hitting. So, just something to keep in mind. But if you're on a fresh journey, I would certainly look into, just researching the differences between the two, or between all of the programs that you have available. Again, Clip Studio is also available on your iPad. So if you go the iPad route, there's no wrong in having both programs, and then you can kind of see which one you like best. So that's sort of my spiel on digital artwork. So I've been working digitally. Actually, I work digitally and traditionally, but I've started my digital journey 2000, somewhere between 2006, 2008, somewhere up in there. I always give like a different year, but it's somewhere in that time span because I was in school at the time. And again, I started on just a very small drawing tablet. And what I would do is I would actually trace images just to get used to how it feels, and that kind of thing. I was also taking art classes, so I was able to translate whatever I was learning in my drawing classes in terms of anatomy, in terms of proportions and things like that, and use that over in the digital realm. So they kind of helped each other. But I like it. It's very convenient. I don't have to like keep a whole bunch of tools with me. I used to do a lot of acrylic paintings and things like that. I don't have to bust out my paints. I don't have to clean no brushes. I don't have to do any of that. It's just, okay, it's time for me to sit down. Let me set my computer up, and then I'm here. You know what I mean? So that's sort of my take on digital artwork. Yeah. So did you guys have any questions? I know I'm talking 90 miles an hour.
No, that was really helpful. I was taking a bunch of notes as you were
Hmm.
sharing the different programs that you used, and um, kind of like the difference between like going somewhere for like the suite, the Affinity Suite,
Hmm.
designer, photo, publisher. I think as again someone who is very new to having a creative practice in general,
Hmm.
I am learning that I really enjoy drawing. I
Mm.
just am needing to learn like techniques and learn
Yeah.
perspective and a lot of
Hmm.
what you were just mentioning. And I have an iPad and I haven't really, and I have Procreate actually,
Okay.
but I, for some reason, I'm really drawn to like regular paper and
Hmm.
marker and
Okay.
pens and things, but
Yeah.
I know that digital is just, I want to learn about it. So this
Okay.
got me really excited
Yeah.
about using those different tools and whatnot. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's important. Like you said, the main thing is to have a solid sort of foundation on how certain aspects of artwork, and they'll translate no matter where you go, right? So if you know that in a face, let's see, draw. I'll show you guys a little bit about this. So if you're drawing faces, for instance, and you know that you know the way that face measurements work, you can do it on paper and pencil, right? So if we are, let's see, did it share? There we go. All right. So if we are drawing a face, it's good to know that um, the size of your eye, right, from corner to corner is also the length of your nose from corner to the tip of your nose. It's the same measurement as your eye, right?
I
And
had
if
no
we're
idea.
looking at each other straight forward, your face is 5 eyes across. So once you sort of learn that kind of thing, it'll translate no matter what, medium you decide to use. So those are some things to study. So if I'm drawing a face, and if I'm drawing a face, let's say I'm setting up my guidelines, right? I know that if I draw a basic circle, come on, computer. If I'm drawing a basic circle, if I'm starting out with a basic circle, right? I know that my eyes are going to sit halfway down that circle. Okay. And halfway between my eyes and the bottom of that circle is going to be my nose. And whatever that distance is, and I'll change color just so you can see it, whatever that distance is from the tip, from your eye line to your nose, is going to be the width of your eyes, right? It's going to be the width of your eyes. And so from here to here is going to give you the beginning of your second eye. And that same measurement is going to go here. And so eventually from corner to corner, it's 3 eyes across. So my eyes here are the same distance from here, here. And then if we're looking at the sides of my face straight forward, those same measurements will go from side to side. So once we start to learn those sorts of things, again, it'll translate. And so again, once we have, so if we have our eye line, halfway down our eye line is going to be our nose. And then that measurement down is going to be the same distance. That's going to be the start of our mouth, right? That'll be the crease of your mouth. So if I'm drawing a mouth here, I've got my nose in place, or the shadow of my nose, and I have my eyes. From the corner of my mouth, using that same eye measurement, from the bottom of my lip down to my chin is going to be the exact same measurement, no matter what the person looks like. And you guys can test this on, references and anything. So that same distance is going to be my chin. And then you can make up any kind of chin. Maybe this person has a stronger chin. Maybe they have a rounder chin. And then we have a person, right? We have our eyebrows. And then, hair can look like the hair. And so those sorts of techniques will translate. Same now. If we have our head, right? So this is top of our head, the bottom of our head. And we are wanting to go down to our shoulders or to our chest line. And I'm going to stand up a little bit. So the length of my head is the exact same measurement from my chin to my chest, right? And then from my chest here is going to be your hip measurement. And so those kinds of things that will help, a good deal. And then again, you can break those shapes down into boxes. So if I know that this is the length of my head, right? I can take this box and I can duplicate it a few times. And that'll give me, let me see, what am I doing? That'll give me my body measurements. So typically an adult is about 6.5 to 7 bodies tall, right? And everything is proportionate. Your head is going to be the same width as your shoulders. It's going to be the same width as your forearm, and so on and so forth. When we get into children's heads tend to be a little bit bigger, right? Not a whole lot bigger, but a little bit bigger. So you'll learn, just kind of studying again, looking at references, pulling up pictures of different characters and things like that, and paying attention to the measurements. And you don't have to be scientific. Again, as a lot of it is going to come down to the way the character feels. But once you have those sort of basic little, tidbits and things like that, kind of know the rules, if you will, then it'll be super duper easy to break them. So children's heads are bigger, right? Their shoulders are a little bit slimmer. They're not going to be the same, head to shoulder kind of proportions. But once you kind of figure that out, I think depending on the size of the kid, it could be 1 to 2 heads to like 3 or 4. And then as you get into teenagers, of course, they get taller and taller and taller. But you can start to use facial features and different, body features as a mode of measurement. And so that's sort of how we work that out. And so again, once you kind of have that basic understanding, you can draw on anything. You know what I mean? You can draw on anything, but it's going to take a practice, right? So you're going to have to draw lots and lots and lots and lots of heads and lots of shoulders and lots of arms. I don't know if you guys have ever paid attention to some of the artists that do like arm studies. So they're like, extending arms, and that helps with perspective, because the closer something is, the bigger it looks, right?
Right.
And the further away it is, the smaller it looks. And so it's just going to be a matter of, just paying and observing. That's the main thing. Observing nature, observing the people and the things like that are around you. Okay, all right, let's see. I just saw your message there, Sam. So yeah, it's really going to kind of come down to that sort of thing. And then once we get, once you kind of get a basic understanding of that, then the sky's the limit. You know what I mean? So let's see.
That's
so Sam, what about you?
helpful.
Did you have
Thank
any questions? Mm-hmm. Let's see here.
No questions. I just wanted to show. No questions. Just wanted to show you some art, so I emailed you some.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Let's see.
I don't know if it'll open.
Okay, I know I'm gonna pull it up. Oh, I got it over here. Let me see if it popped up on my thing here. Okay, so I have it on my phone, so I'm gonna show you guys it on my phone because I think it'll be a little bit easier. So we're looking at one of the yeah. So again, this is awesome. So you already have sort of a good understanding of the shapes, right? So even though there are details in this illustration, if we were to break these down into shapes, it's really going to be just a matter of again changing the perspective of that box, right? So her body is a very rectangular shape, right? Her head is round, and her afro can, you can is you got a good start. Let me just say that. So you got a really really great start. So from here, I would just so if let me go back to sharing my screen real quick. So I will show you sort of how I would approach it. Because again, you have a solid start because you've already got it broken down for yourself, and that's awesome. So if we were drawing this character, right? And I'm gonna hold it here. Let me see what we got. So if we're drawing this character, and I'm probably not gonna do your drawing justice, but bear with me. So if we're drawing this character, and she has her hair like this, right? Something like this, and then we have her body, and I'm just gonna, just like I said, I'm probably not gonna do this justice at all. And then you have her legs, which is awesome. So already we have some very foundational shapes, right? So already we have some super duper foundational shapes. And I'm going to move this up so you guys can see it on the screen a little bit better. So we already have these awesome shapes. Okay. So if I was to turn her around, I would really just make her body more slim, right? And I would change sort of the angle of her hair. So if I was drawing the side view of her, right? Let's say this is the side, using the same shape because her waist is going to come in something like this. Once you get into that kind of thing. So her arm is going to go right here, right? That's her arm. And then I would just change the perspective of her hair. You can use the same shape, you know? It doesn't have to be complicated at all. And then you take the same shape for her legs, right? So we're just paying attention to these basic shapes. So we have her triangles for her legs, right? We have more of a, even though she has curves and things like that, but if we were to break this down, right, we could break it down into a rectangle. Her head is the easiest because it's very round, right? And then we would just change the perspective, right? And let's say we want her to be a little bit sad, right? If we were to act out sad, when we're sad, our head tends to drop and maybe our head goes forward a little bit, right? So I would take that same shape, the same basic shapes. I'm starting with the circle of her head, right? But instead of her sort of shoulders being, forward as if she's standing forward, I might bring her shoulders up a little bit. And I'm going to bring her head forward because that's going to give us a little bit of a different vibe. Maybe her shoulders have dropped, so that means her arms are going to drop, right? So her arms are dropping. And then because she's looking down, even if you're not using like eyes and nose and things like that, you can angle her hair in a way that implies that she's looking down. So if on the side, her hair usually looks like, okay, computer. If on the side, her hair usually sort of looks like it's standing up, maybe we take that same hair shape and we bring it forward. So now it looks like she's looking down, right? And so you have to kind of think of it
You
in
are
terms.
a magic worker. A
Huh?
magic worker. A
Listen,
magic worker. I'm over here. No, my audio is not the best.
oh,
Click
you're
the
good.
computer, but because it has a static in the background and echoing.
Mm,
But wow, you made her look sad. I
Right.
wow.
Yeah, so just pay attention to body language, right? So you don't have to be fancy, you don't have to have facial features to express an emotion. If I'm excited, then everything opens up, right? And so my head goes back a little bit, and then maybe it's tilted a little bit. So in order to do that with this sort of character, play with her hair. You know what I mean? Change the angle of her hair. So if she's looking forward, right, and I want to sort of express that maybe her head is tilted, then rather than making her hair proportional where it's even on both sides, maybe I make it a little bit asymmetrical. So maybe she's laughing a little bit, right, and her shoulders are a little more open. You know what I mean? They're still straight so that our head reads sort of angle. And so that's what I mean by like play in the mirror, right? Play out some of these emotions and things and pay attention to how your body looks as you act out these emotions, right? So if you're sad, again, you know, your head is forward, you know, your shoulders are a little bit higher than they would be if I was standing up confident and I'm giving a speech. And if you're standing up confident and giving the speech, notice how your shoulders sit, right? Notice how straight your head is and how straight your back is and things like that. Pay attention to those sorts of nuances. And then once you go into drawing your characters, you already have it where it's, you know, broken down into good basic shapes. Then after that, it's just going to be a matter of placing them different. That's it. That's it. You know, you're going to have a consistent look for their clothes, right? They have, I would imagine, consistent hair and things like that. So they have features. So play with the shapes. That's it. Super duper easy. You know what I mean? And remember to have fun doing it, because there's no real right or wrong. Just want to make sure that you are expressing that character's personality and that character's emotion. And that's it's just that simple. It's just that simple. So yeah, I'm happy to share that with you. But yeah, that's all you have to do. And so when we were talking a little bit earlier about breaking it down into boxes, keep that in mind. So if we're going into like our 3D shapes and things like that, it's going to be the same exact thing. And I think my video's frozen, but hope there it is. I was going to say, hopefully you guys can hear me. But the same process, right? So you're just going to play with placement of body language. How do I look when when I'm feeling in love? I might, my shoulders come in so that square becomes a little bit tighter, right? My waist and my hips stay the same. You don't even have to fool with that. You just kind of place depending on what angle she's in, place your legs and your arms and things like that in different positions. And that's it. That's it. And this works in anybody's style. So no matter what your style looks like, whether you're like, going into realism, or like what I call mine is a stylized realism, where it looks like what it's supposed to be, but it's not like I'm drawing a photograph. It
Right,
doesn't
right.
really matter what your style is, so long as you understand those basic principles. The details come later. You know what I mean? Your foundation is going to be what sort of sells the idea of whatever message you're sending through your images. Yep.
Gotcha.
So that's about it. Let me stop sharing here.
That's super helpful. Like that, again, as someone who is new at drawing, new
Hmm.
at perspective, new at all of these things, it's helpful to know you can really just break these down into shapes
Hmm.
and circles and rectangles. That I know how to
That's
draw. I
it.
can do that.
Yep.
Triangles, circles, and rectangles, I know how to draw that. I
Yep.
will say, like, I don't tend to draw people. I
Hmm.
really draw, like, I like drawing flowers.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Okay.
so I'm even thinking about how I can use what you shared to think about how I'm drawing like the petals of different
Yep.
flowers and stuff like that. So this was so helpful, Brittany. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it works the exact same way. So I'm super happy to be able to share with you guys. And like I said, I talk 90 miles an hour. So
I love it because you have good things to say. That was really, 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 really
L-
helpful.
awesome.
Literally saying so much information in those miles of hour. Like you're saying
Oh,
so
good. Listen, I'm
so
so glad.
like so much delicious information that we can nibble on and people can nibble on
Oh, I'm
about
so glad.
software and such, but also just the kindness of also mentioning the other types of forms. Like, thank you
Mhm.
for the tracing paper. I didn't even didn't even think of that. But
Mhm.
I do think getting into the digital space is more important and trying to find a software just
Okay.
because of the possibilities of like
Right.
shifting
Mhm.
the shapes and making them different things. It adds a little extra.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's going to be helpful when it comes to like format your book, right? So
Hmm.
when I mentioned Affinity, whenever I do book formatting, I always do it in Affinity Publisher. But it's going to be helpful because it's already going to be available on your computer, right? It's just going to be a matter of saving the file, as opposed to if you're doing it traditionally, you'll have to scan it in or like photograph it, and then you have to do the color, So there are some definite pros to starting off this journey. Digitally, it's just have grace with yourself in terms of like learning the new technology and things like that. But the main thing is just enjoy it, right? Have fun. We take life so seriously, like don't let it stress you out or anything like that. And if you have questions, I'm here. I'm super available to help, because it warms my heart so much to see black women in a creative and spiritual space, right? So that does something to me, because we don't see it very often, and we often have to, like, we got to go find each other, right? So I'm
Yeah.
so happy that you guys came across me, and we were able to connect and make this happen, because again, I love being able to share and help someone. If I can help just one person, you know what I mean, I feel like purpose fulfilled. So I appreciate you guys for allowing me to talk your ears off
You'll
Thank you
help
share
so
this.
much.
Brittany. I bet you.
Huh?
I said I bet you helping thousands, and
I hope so. Yeah, that would be awesome. But I'm,
it's
I'm glad to
really
help you guys for sure, and everybody watching it. So I think you guys, it's been about an hour or so. I told you about an hour. We'll get it done in about an hour. But I appreciate you guys for being here with me. And if you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, I really hope you guys got something out of it. If you have questions about anything, make sure you leave them in the description, or not the description, child, the comments. Leave them in the comments below, and let us know what you think. If you like this sort of live stream, you want to see Sam and Leigh here again, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And also, Miss Sam has a YouTube channel as well. Sam, take it away. Please tell us about it. What you got going on?
well. The hope for the YouTube channel is whenever you look up sound bowls, you normally see this white man with his beautiful scenery, with his crystal bowls, and I'm hoping to someday replace that and also be found. I want to do sound bowls and do some card reading, um, intentionally putting in some type of experience when sound bowling. So I'm going to use oracle cards for that to
Oh,
give
nice.
like a touch of what you should be thinking about when the sound is playing, and then playing sound bowl. I hope that my first episode comes out September. That's what I'm hoping for. So I
Okay.
get a new mic, so you guys won't hear this echoing or whatever this background noise is. A new computer and different things like that. But that is the hope for Sam's Secret Soundscape. Thank
Yes, I
you.
love it. And Leigh, please tell us if you have anything going on. Put it out there. Let's hear about it.
I don't really have anything like super like official happening. I'm really just learning how to draw,
Hmm.
learning how to allow myself to express myself through some type of medium and not be self-conscious and
Hmm.
not try to be perfect. I'm
Hmm.
really in like I feel like I'm in a new way of trying to express my inner child and even maybe different
Mm.
versions of myself. So I'm not really I don't really have all of the like YouTube channels, but what
But
Sam?
I do want to say, Lee did not do art. Lee did not do art like maybe
Really?
a couple of months ago. And I wish Lee had something to show you one of their beautiful sunflowers. But
Listen,
I
like
don't know.
Leigh, hold up. Put
I don't. Do you have a picture of
just
the
started. I
sunflower?
just want you all to know.
it all out there, Sam.
I will have to find it because that is the sunflowers are definitely not with me right now. But I love drawing sunflowers, so that's
That's
what
so awesome.
I'm obsessed with drawing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I relate to you, Brittany, of like the stylized realism. Like I don't need
Mm-hmm.
my work to look exactly like a picture, but
Mm-hmm.
you can look at the thing and be like, oh, that's a
Yeah.
sunflower. So that's what I'm working on
I
doing.
love that. I love that. Well,
Yeah.
thank you both so much. I really, really enjoyed this, and we got to do it again,
Yes,
especially once
please.
you got to bring them sunflowers on so we can see
Yes,
how
I
you
will.
know your
I
technique
will.
and how you're progressing and Sam the same. I would love to learn more about you guys, so we'll definitely do this again. But from here, I wish you all a creative and prosperous day, and thank you so much again for joining us. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Yay. Bye.
Hi, Brittany.